Welcome to the Greater Than Business podcast, where it's all about creating an amazingly successful business without sacrificing your quality of life, because life should be greater than business. And now, here is your host, Courtney Bedore.
This is episode 22 of the Greater Than Business podcast, and today we are going to be talking all about one of my favorite things to talk about, and that is the secrets to getting ahead when you've fallen behind. Because number one, let's be honest, we all fall behind in our online businesses. And the reason that we all fall behind is because everything moves so fast. And we all have shiny object syndrome. We all want to do the newest, craziest, best new thing. And sometimes that means we can't do it all, but we think we can, and we start a list and we fall behind. Or you get sick, or you don't feel like working for a couple days, or whatever thing. Oh, travel. Travel's another big one. You travel and then you come home and you just get behind. And once you start getting behind, all of a sudden you start thinking of all of the other things that you should have been doing too. And once that happens and you get on that treadmill of being behind, you can never really get off of it. So I want to share with you the 3 super simple steps that I use to basically reset my business, reset my to-do list, and realize what's important, what's not important, what I can stress about being behind on, how to tackle them and get them done, and why it is really essential to not allow this to send you into overwhelm, because that's not cool and nobody wants that. So basically, step number 1 is a brain dump. So if you don't know what a brain dump is, essentially you just sit down with a piece of paper or a whiteboard or whatever it is that you want to use. You can even type it on your computer. Just sit down and think about all of the things that are on your brain, work-related, life-related, basically anything that you can possibly think of that is weighing on your brain and making you feel like you are behind. So what I want you to do is sit down, write out everything, anything that's on your mind. If it comes into your head, you write that down. And no matter what it is, how small it is, even if it's something where it's like, oh, I forgot to take my medicine this morning. Well, write that down, go upstairs, take your medicine, come back down, continue the list. Anything like that, like just anything that is weighing on your mind, you write that down. And then what you do is you group it into categories. And I'm going to link to, I don't know if I will be able to give you access to this training that I have, but if I can, I'm going to include it in the show notes. And basically what it is it tells you exactly how to do a brain dump. And if I don't have access to it, I'll record a short video and kind of explain it to you more visually, because it's super important. I actually did an old training on this way back when Periscope was a thing. So I'm going to see if I can dig that out of the archives. I have no idea where to even find that video, but total side note. But yeah, you basically will sort it into 4 quadrants. And those 4 quadrants will basically determine if it's important, not urgent, or urgent. So basically you kind of decide, it allows you to put it into a better hierarchy of the importance of needing to be done. So things that need to be done, that are driving your business forward, obviously those are super important and they must go in quadrant 1. Quadrant 2 are things that are kind of important to your business, but yet they aren't essential right this moment. So you can kind of back burner them a little bit. And then there's things that are in your life that you're thinking about that are important, such as taking your medicine. You might want to get that higher on the priority list. And then there's things that don't matter, like your daughter's ballet shoes are going to be too small in 4 months, so you might want to consider buying her a new pair. That's something that you just have no control over right now, and something that you don't need to be thinking about, but it's good that you thought about it, got it out of your head, and put it down on paper. So the next step is prioritize. So once you have everything there and you've kind of listed it all out and you're looking at this sheet of paper or whiteboard or whatever it is, and you can see all of the different things, then you need to prioritize within that quadrant. So look at the first one and think about all of the things that you're looking at. Which ones are super important? Which ones have deadlines? Which ones are things that you need to do in order to have your business survive? Put those at the top and basically prioritize everything from that point onward. Once you have everything prioritized, then move on to step number 3, which is schedule. And from there, you want to put this stuff in your calendar. If you don't put it in your calendar, then it won't get done. I have a quote from one of my productivity mentors, Michael Hyatt, and he says that if it doesn't get scheduled, it doesn't get done. And I have lived by that for years. If you don't actually look at your schedule, if you just think, oh yeah, I can get it done by the end of the week, but you don't actually put it in your calendar or look at your schedule before you make promises to yourself, like getting it done before the end of the week, then you won't know what's happening. I know last week when I was planning on doing something, I wanted to get it done by the end of the week. And then I actually sat down and looked at my week and thought, I won't have any time to do that next week. I'm traveling. I have to leave on Tuesday, which wasn't considered a travel day originally in my plans, but it became a travel day. And it wasn't going to happen. On Monday, when I'm sitting there looking at my schedule, making promises to myself, I realized that okay, well, maybe I could do it on the plane. But then I realized that Wi-Fi on the plane, come on, Wi-Fi on the plane is horrible. So you can't do much on a plane with Wi-Fi, especially when you're trying to run a really, really complex program. So you just have to kind of realize that, okay, definitely if I didn't look at my schedule and put it in there, then it wasn't going to be able to get done that week. So thankfully, I've trained myself now that before I say I can get it done by the end of the week, I'll look at my week and I'll actually see, okay, it should take me about 5 hours to get done. Do I have 5 hours in my week to get it done? And then I always double it, which I know sounds really counterproductive by doubling the amount of time that I think a task is going to take me. But trust me, in the grand scheme of planning, you will thank yourself later. So if I think it's going to take me 5 hours, then I'll give myself 10 hours to do it. And the good thing is that you'll never feel behind from feeling behind, if that makes sense. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that if you give yourself 10 hours instead of 5 and you're done early, well, then you have an extra couple hours to be able to do other things on your list and add in those extra tasks that you didn't think you'd be able to get done this week and get a head start on them. So you're always working from being ahead versus being behind. And when you're creating this list because you feel like you're already behind, this is key. It is so essential because if you only give yourself 5 hours and then something happens and it ends up taking 9 hours, then you have then used extra hours that you didn't allot for, therefore putting the rest of your list behind. And you can use the rest of the hours that you saved for other things as well. You don't need to necessarily tackle that list. But if you're feeling behind already, I highly suggest you tackle that list. So you want to make sure that you schedule the time that you need and double it before you start putting things in your calendar and making promises to yourself and other colleagues, because you definitely don't want to disappoint, especially when you're trying to get out of a hole from being behind, and it's just going to further the disappointment. So pull out your schedule, sit down, think about how long each task is going to be, and then put it in your calendar. And if you even have to, you might have to break up the task. Like I know for myself, like say I was behind on recording podcasts. Well, obviously recording podcasts takes a good chunk out of my day, but I don't necessarily need to double that because all of my podcast episodes are all around the same length, so I won't need that extra time. I'll give myself a little bit of extra time just in case, but if I know a podcast episode roughly takes me 30 minutes to record, well then I'll give myself 45 minutes just to be safe, and who knows, maybe I can record 2 episodes instead of 1, or whatever it ends up being. But then I also need to remember that with recording an episode comes all of the other things, getting it transcribed, getting it edited, sending it to my editor, getting him to edit it, doing basically all of the other little things that I need to do, the show notes, the graphics, all of that adds in time. So it's not as simple as record a podcast. There's other tasks. So if I don't take those into consideration and schedule those on a day that makes sense after I've recorded it, because obviously I can't do show notes before I've recorded an episode, and obviously I can't get it transcribed if I haven't recorded the episode, and I can't do the transcription page if I haven't got the episode transcribed yet. So there's a whole bunch of little things where you kind of need to use the logic in scheduling your tasks out, but you need to break down all of the little tasks that need to be done. So for me, like the first thing that I do after I record a podcast is I send it to my editor. And then there's obviously a couple days turnaround for him to be able to edit the podcast and send it back to me. And then the moment that I get it back, which I'll usually schedule it maybe 3 to 4 days out, I will make sure that I put it in my calendar to transcribe the episode. Now, I send it off to a transcription service, so I don't have to necessarily sit down and listen to the episode and transcribe it. But I know that my transcription service takes about 12 hours to get back to me. So then I know that I can't do anything with the transcription for 12 hours. So I will bump that task to the next day. And if you can set up a system in your business in order to handle all these tasks beforehand, before you get behind, and when you really know all of the inner workings of everything that you do in your business and you can break it down to the minute, then trust me, you will be so far ahead of everyone else. You will be so happy with yourself. So try to build out these good habits, but if you do get behind, this is how you get out of it. You brain dump, then you prioritize, and then you schedule. And don't allow the brain dump to overwhelm you, because everything on that list will get done if it really truly matters. And if it doesn't matter and you don't do it, then why were you worried about it in the first place? You don't need to stress about things that you cannot control and things that are not important. So make sure that you are always getting into this cycle of, if you do get behind, or you anticipate getting behind, or you feel like overwhelm is creeping in, sit down, do a brain dump, figure out everything that's important, prioritize those things that are important, put them on your schedule, double the time so that you don't get further behind, and then start doing the tasks. And don't spend a whole day brain dumping, prioritizing, and scheduling, because then you're just going to get further behind. Do it quick. Only give yourself about an hour to get it all done. Do it as fast as you can. Make sure that you're always breaking down all of the extra little elements of the task. And if you can, build this out into a system, because that's going to help you. So personally, I use I guess it's kind of a planning system or a task management system on my computer called ClickUp. And if you haven't used it, I will link it in the show notes. But it's like Asana or Trello or any of those other little task assignment sorters. Project management system. That's the word I'm looking for. So it's basically a project management system, but I love ClickUp because it's super cheap. It's so amazing. It allows you to have dependencies, which are like, if you've ever had any conversation with me, you will know how much I love task dependencies. But if you can actually set up a system for all of the regular tasks that you seem to find yourself overwhelmed with on a weekly basis, if you can build out those systems and really do it in a logical way, as I said, by making sure that you're giving yourself enough time, that you're taking into account certain tasks can't be done until other tasks are completed, things like that. Trust me, it will make your life 1,000 times easier. So as I said, I will link that in the show notes, and the show notes for this episode can be found at greaterthanbusiness.com/022. And there I will link to ClickUp. I'll probably link to Asana and Trello as well, just so that you can see other variables that are out there, other services that are available. But I highly recommend ClickUp. That's what I use. It integrates with everything that I use for my business, so it's just phenomenal. But that is one of the main ways that, beyond dealing with the overwhelm that you might be currently facing now, the way that you would deal with that is the brain dump, the prioritize, and the schedule. And then after you kind of get out of that hole of being overwhelmed, of feeling behind, then I really want you to consciously make a choice to get ahead of it next time. Build out these systems, do them in a way that makes sense for your business. Make sure that you're giving yourself a lot of time to get things done. Make sure that you're always batching content if you can. Make sure that you allow yourself the permission to get behind if it happens. It's fine, but just be kind to yourself. Make sure that you can set yourself up for the ultimate success, no matter what it is. And building out systems in your business is what's going to help with that. So record everything that you do in your initial brain dump. Once you put it onto a schedule, then think about, maybe I can put this into a system. Maybe this can become a task list that I put in my project management system so that I don't get behind again, because I know all the steps that are required to do this one simple task, such as publish a podcast. And once you kind of start systematizing everything in your business, then your business is going to start running better. And then that is when you can get to the point of outsourcing certain things as well, which will then free up time for you to do other things. And if you are feeling overwhelmed because your to-do list is full of things that you see other entrepreneurs doing, and you think that you want to start doing them too, after you've done the brain dump, prioritized your current things that you're behind on, scheduled, and then also systematized your business, then and only then you can start playing with all of those other shiny objects that you see other entrepreneurs doing out there. So make sure that you are staying in alignment with you, your brand, your business, doing what's best for you, and also making sure that you're keeping up with all of the promises that you've already made to yourself before you start taking on additional tasks. So I hope that this episode has helped you. As I said, I'm going to link a bunch of trainings in the show notes. You can find it at greaterthanbusiness.com/022. And hopefully I'm going to have this chock full of resources for you, and I just have to go find those videos. But take a look, see what's there. And if you think that I'm missing anything, or you want to share something that's helped you and you want me to include it in the show notes, please email me. My email address is always flow@flowautomationinc.com. And if I don't say it enough, trust me, I read every single email that comes in. It gives me such great ideas for new and upcoming episodes. I love the feedback that you guys send me. I love the positivity, the words of encouragement, and all of that great stuff that you guys send in. It's so heartwarming to read. And I love it. So just let it be known that I do read everything, and I will reply eventually to every single email that I get. And thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for allowing me to come into your lives and give you this little bit of business advice that I've been able to come up with over my years of always feeling behind and trying to get out of it. And the things that have helped me, I hope that they can really, really help you with whatever you're struggling with in your business right now. So with that being said, I'm going to end this episode, and I can't wait to talk to you next week, and I hope that you will be there to listen.
Thanks for listening to the Greater Than Business podcast at www.greaterthanbusiness.com.